And hello. So, okay. That's it for this part with the three presentation. So I leave now the microphone at Julian Schechter for the roundtable. The title of the roundtable here is Simulations Can Prevent Risks, right? Question mark. But should those simulations really be games or playful if lives or high cost are at risk? So that's the question that we will try to answer in the next few minutes.
Thank you, Stefano. I will take over. Thank you for the authors for those three papers. And I'll start from the papers because it's a vast, very vast domain, the personal and professional training. So I wanted to take some things from the papers and bring them maybe a little further. So let's start maybe with something that we have seen in the first two papers, the trying to improve manuals and the trying to improve rules in different companies. Serious games have often had this goal. It's one of the main goals of serious games in companies. So I want to address with you guys, can you really put into a game something like a manual that is by essence a little bit boring? Can you put it in a game, and how can the game bring something? Can you really bring some fun in it, or should you just bring another way of doing it? So my first question to maybe the people of the papers, and maybe Axel Collet can start, because it's really one of the topics. How fun should the game be to interest people? Do you have to put fun in it, or do you have to put something that is a kind of interest, or just another way of seeing it?
In a project, we have seen the fun like a tool for have a better gesture, for a better master of this acknowledge. So we don't think it's a hand itself. We really would like to have the fun for be a manual where the user learn faster and better. It's not a hand itself for us. It's just, if I can give an example, when you have to learn a language, you have a book of exercise, and the exercise are usually a little game. It's just because you learn faster with game. So for us, it's a tool, just for help the enterprise.
Okay. Anyone, of course, can participate with raising the hand. That just Stefano Carino did this. You maybe all know how to do it right now. You just go in the participants button at the bottom of your screen. You're all on computers, I guess, or in the smartphone. You just swipe away and you can find it, and you raise your hand so I can see if anyone wants to talk, or as we are not so many today, you can also open your mic and go. There will be no problem with that. So Stefano.
Yes, I think it's a very good question, but the point is also why about talking about games, because I think fun is important. So because fun is engaging and so on, but in a professional and high-risk domain, I think that there is anyway a very important risk. It is the acceptability of the user that have to use the system. It means that professional will maybe see a game like a sort of break. Let's say they are saying, I'm doing something really, really serious and not sure if I have to play to do that. If it is something related, for example, to health, it can be really maybe seen like I'm someone, a surgeon that has to do very serious stuff. I'm not sure if I want to play doing that. But in this case, I think gamification can also be seen something that can add a little bit of fun doing the work. It is not a game, but it can complete very well, I think, to improve the simulation. with some little bit element of fun, and there is a little bit less risk of refusal by the user at the end.
In the first session, I took this example because I've seen it in a symposium on serious games. A company that was working with chemicals, they did a serious game to teach their employees not to mix some chemicals that were not supposed to be mixed, so they could really explode or harm people. So it was something really important, or some chemicals that you should not touch with your hands, or that you should not inhale, or stuff like that. So there were like big sheets of rules in every room of this company. So this you should not be, and this you should not do as well. And they did a serious game to make it more playful, so people would learn better. But the subject was so serious that in the serious game, actually you found the same rules. And you have to answer, can I do that? No, you cannot. Can you do this? No, I cannot. And there was no fun at all in the serious game. And they made a survey in the company 1 month after. People had learned, but there was no fun at all in the game, because the problem was you had to be too conscious to do that. So do you think really that in a machine, we've seen in those two papers, sophisticated machines, is there really a fun in it? What's the difference of learning through the game or learning through a paper? Finally, do you think you can really induce some fun? I'm provoking a little bit, but it's the aim of the roundtable, is it? Who wants to go on that? How can you induce fun, and can you be sure there's going to be fun? Vincent Lemaire.
Okay, everybody can hear?
Yes.
Okay, sorry for my English practice. I'm so French speaking, so I'm going to try to do something clear. So my company is working since 3 years with VR. We are specialists about emergency training, first aid to people. So it's a long way. I do first course to learn people to do first aid. And during the experience, people learned more easy with the game usually, because there are usually more stress, more emotional stress when you speak that you have to do CPR, resuscitation on someone. So the game can help to learn without a big stress, because it's more fun. So that's why I wanted to use a VR, virtual reality, to help someone to approach the resuscitation and the first aid courses by this way. But we are not in a gamification or serious game. We are just between to this approach by simulation. And now I had many people tried virtual reality to learn how to do resuscitation, CPR on someone. And I think you have a new experience to learn something which is very emotional, important for you. And this virtual reality can offer some help to learn your stress before. And when the stress is on your comment, you can do something. And the first time, every people cannot doing anything first aid, because it's 50% minimum emotional stress. And then you have paralyzed, you can do anything. So before, when you are learning these courses, you can learn how you have to stress, to gestion du stress, you know, how to, we can, learn to stop the emotional stress before acting something, and it's really the first step to be efficiently after. So I think the simulation bar by reality virtual can be associated to a game, because it's the first time that we were learning when we were the child. We were learning by game, no? But now we are adults, and we have forgot how we were when we was a child. But I think if we go to our memory looking for the child, and we take the game to learn something important, we have climbing up the child in us, and the virtual reality can do some results about incredible. And we had some big experience with this, with more people since 2 years old with this approach.
Thank you, Vincent. It was very clear for me. And you're addressing one of the points that I wanted to go to, because you're talking about simulation. And there's a great maybe thing that we could address around this table. What's the difference between a simulation and a game? Because one of the famous simulation in the world is Flight Simulator. You've all maybe tried once to play this game. It's a game you have to try to fly a plane. But it's not really a game. It's a simulation. It's sold as a video game, and you've all, I guess, if you played it, you've all tried to crash because you're in the game, and so you try crash and you see what happens, and that's the game. So what's the difference? Even in your simulation, Vincent, I'm sure some of the people, maybe not the first time, but the second time or third time, they tried to do something wrong, something that's not good, and see what the result is. Because that's the game, but it's not the simulation. It's not the aim to do that. It's not the goal to do that. So for you guys, what is the difference between a simulation and the game? And then we will address what's the best for a serious game or for a serious game application. Is this a simulation for maybe something important like first aid? Nothing could be more important than that. But even manipulating some crazy, dangerous machines in industries or things that could cost really a lot of money if you do it wrong. We'll see that. But first, I want to hear you between the difference between simulation and game. I want to go first. What's the difference? Is there a difference? Fabio Solari.
Hi. Indeed, it is very interesting conference, and for all, and this is very interesting paper. About this question, I think I don't know if you know me. I know Stefan Gobron. I am from University of Genova, Italy, in order to give some idea. Simulation and game are fun. I think that for professional field, what is important is simulation, in the sense that they want user learn process, how to solve a task by performing different steps. But the way to solve the task is done through a game. So the game is a simulation. The simulation is a game with a goal more specific and realistic. If I remember, in Genova, I developed a first aid simulator for medical staff, indeed in virtual reality, and I have a similar experience as Vincent said. And what medical staff asked is to add more real condition to the simulation that was performed in the lab. Since when you are in the lab and performing simulation for the medical staff, there is a mannequin, and the medical staff do something or on this mannequin and so on. But indeed, you are in the lab. When people will be out, they are on the street, on the beach. So the gamification added this realism in virtual reality. So medical staff learn not only do the specific medical procedure that is the simulation, but the game add realism. The medical staff is immersed, for example, in a street, and they must provide first aid when there is noise, there are virtual people that move around, and so on. So I think gamification can add realism to the simulation that is more focused on the procedure only.
Thank you, Fabio. Someone else wants to react to just what Fabio said about simulations in game?
If I can add something.
Vincent and Stefano first.
Okay, thank you. I will raise my hand next time. For me also a big difference between games and simulation is that simulation has to be close to reality. So it's a model simplified of reality. This is a requirement for simulation. This is not a requirement for a game. For example, as you said before, in the game that you have to learn about chemical compounds and so on, you can present it in a totally different way, unrelated to reality, and it can be still a game. So that was my point. I think fun is not the point that differentiates simulation of a game, because maybe you know, but a game at some point can also not be very fun. If you play, I don't know, League of Legends or some games like that, you are very competitive inside. At some point, it's really not fun anymore. You are really engaged in case you can learn stuff, but it is not fun, but it is still a game. So I think what distinguishes simulation and a game is that a simulation has to be close to reality. A simplified model maybe, but it is a simulation. Then a simulation can be also a game, but in my opinion, it's really the user that can transform an application from a simple application to a game. For someone, maybe answering emails can be a game. So it depends.
Vincent?
Okay. I have just one example about what I said before. I don't know if you can see this photograph. Okay, so you can see here on the blue on Gordon Savicic is a member of GSGS, and in 2018 he was on my stand with a virtual reality to learn CPR. He tried, and we gave him some information how to do resuscitation in the real life. And he came on the Friday and the Saturday, so 24 hours after his step by my stand, he saved life of Francis with only 15 minutes in reality, in virtual reality, during he learned CPR. It was amazing because this photograph, I took it last year in 2019, 1 year after this event, this incredible story. And Francis is very in good health. I have a phone yesterday with him. They are beginning good friends. And after this history, I had new example with application of virtual reality about simulation. And to discuss about Fabio Solari, I know, I'm sure that more simulations and you can repeat simulations, more the brain can learn as it's real. the real situation as you could find in your life. And I think it's a most important approach with these new technologies. More you can repeat, more you can do so many simulations, but the simulations must be very the same as the reality you can find. Your brain won't make the difference between simulations and real life. And more we can work with this technology to do a joke for your brain, but he was thinking it's the real situation. You can have more garden than can save lives.
We'll see. We will address this virtual reality thing just after it's my next step in this roundtable. But first, we have Elise on the same subject. Elise, you raise your hand on the video. You can just raise your hand with the button as well. It will be less tiring for you, but still you have the mic.
So everybody can hear me. It's okay. Okay, perfect. So I would like to speak about the link between the simulation and the game by the LARP, so live action role play. For people who don't know, LARP, it's a game where we play characters like improvisation in theaters, and it's exactly simulation and to learn things about subjects like history, or I played a game that was about neuroscience and the First World War, and we were playing characters who were concerned by the subject. And I think that simulating a character who lives the situation, who lives the future in neuroscience, like with ID, I don't know how to say in English, the fuses, the brain ID things, cards, electronic cards, and it was about the question about what is to live in this society, and we played also the First World War in a kind of a little village. And I really think that simulate the subject is so easier to learn about the situation. Like if we do an exam after playing a role-playing game on the subject, I think it will be much more easy to answer the questions, and people will learn for longer time in their life than just learn on the text. So I think simulation and game in real life are really, really linked in this kind of experience.
Simulation and gaming, creating emotions that add to the knowledge that you can bring just reading a paper, of course. Interesting thing that Vincent Lemaire was talking about, VR is very close now to reality. I would more ask the question, because we have seen a lot of VR developing in the last 2 years. Still, not every home has a VR set, or even the VR easy thing that you could put your phone in. It's not really that popular right now. And so is VR really ready to be realistic, to be used by many people, and to be used in companies? Because if we go back to maybe the serious game industry, can you today go to a company and say, okay, now you put down all your manuals, you don't need them anymore, these are goggles, do VR, it's best, it's better, it's fun, the knowledge is better, everything is cool, just throw away the manuals, do VR, it's the best thing. Is VR ready for that right now? What do you think? Vincent?
Yes, it's good questions. I was asking to myself and with my team. since the beginning of the adventure of Bee Rescuer. And I can say yes, we are working on a new project to send VR for all people with a simple kit or headset, because I'm sure that the VR with the next years will be more democratic about price, cost, or anything. But we are working hard.
We said that 5 years ago.
Yeah, but for the next time, we are working on a big project to perform the VR and let people using this with a new approach. I'm sure it will be more democratic in the next time.
Are you confident? Is everyone confident?
Oh, hello.
Yes, we still hear you, no problem. But so you seem confident and it will be the thing? Is everyone agreeing with that? It will be the thing in 2 years? And if you don't want to answer that, maybe you will answer my other question, because we talked about another technology in those 3 papers, which is augmented reality. And I have quite the same question, because it was also meant to be the thing, augmented reality, go in the streets, but I don't see anyone in the street with his phone and iPad and doing augmented reality at every corner. Still, there are cities with tourism activities that you can do with augmented reality. They say, hey, cool, you can do that. Have you seen anyone doing it? I didn't. So is it really the thing also in the company? Why did maybe Axel can answer that? Why did you choose this technology, augmented reality? We've seen the advantage, of course, in the papers. They're great because you have at the same time the real life and the manual. That's perfect. But are people ready for that technology and for this kind of use? I won't talk about the Google Glass, but that failed. So maybe you want to answer that, Axel.
I think maybe in the case of we speaking, we didn't see someone using the AR, but the AR is already in the life of everybody, not maybe everybody, but when we look Snapchat, for example, is AR. We have our face and we had some things. So we have the start of the AR here, I think. But maybe for the manual, for have other application, it's going to take time and better material for something really user-friendly, really, and maybe the people have the will come to start and like to use the manual with augmented reality, but it's coming to start and it will maybe take time, but the technology is here and they will come for the manual and other application like the serious game.
But Axel, why did you choose AR and not VR, for example, for in your project?
We think it's really interesting to have the machine we need to repair in our case, and we want to bring the information directly on the element. So sometimes when you are VR, you see really well when you need what you need to do, but when you are the real machine, where is the screw? Where is these things? But with the AR, you have directly the information. You see what you need to do in the real world, and I think it's really, really good.
Stefano, and then Julien has also something. Stefano first.
Okay, so for the previous project, the one with Axel, I think another point that is important is that it wasn't a simulation. It was real work. Someone has to work on real material. So as Axel said, in augmented reality, you have the reality. So you can touch the real material that you have to change. So you have tools. In virtual reality, technically everything is virtual, so you are not really doing the job. And the goal of that project was doing the job using the manual. So I think that that was a good point to start with augmented reality. And about the general question, if we will see augmented reality in professional scenarios, not just Snapchat and so on, I think the point is, yes, as usual, the devices that we have today are not that good to be used for more than 1 hour, maybe, without feeling pain on the neck and so on. But with the novel devices like the ones that are used, the goggles used in the project of Axel, I think we are now bridging the gap to real devices that can be used. And the point is that in these scenarios, when the operators already wear helmets, safety gloves, and so on, I think this kind of device can be used. It will be easier to accept than in other scenarios when design style it's also important. So I think it will not explode everywhere at first, but in specialized fields in which the constraint of having something that is bulky on your head, it can be acceptable.
Thank you, Stefano. Julien?
Yeah, and also I think maybe industry or of, when it's critic to make the thing good, maybe they won't change fast. And what I see is a lot of game for children with a certain tablet and like Pokemon or game like this for children and young people. And when they grow up with that kind of technology, then I think they can trust because they played before something less serious. And then when it comes to work, I think they will be okay with that kind of technology and data and information. They will trust it. But it's a long run. I mean, that's not right now. But I think if that kind of technology, you use it as child or learn something, then you will probably be more acceptable if you use it also in work. I think, yeah, it's a long run, not 2 years, 3 years, but I mean, if children use it as game, yeah, maybe probably they will be more acceptable later.
And if it goes in schools as well. But you're right on one thing. Pokemon Go is one of the good examples. We can actually see people doing augmented reality in the streets and massively, because we've seen there are millions of players. So maybe that's a hint in this direction. The question is then, if really we can use the goggles and really we can use the augmented reality, should we use it to learn how to use the machine, or should the worker, in your perspective, Axel, should the worker still wear his goggle all the time? Because there will be information coming all the time, and even while working, he could know if something gets wrong or get a message or get something. So do you think in this perspective, if the goggles work perfectly, if we are agreeing to have augmented realities in our day-to-day life, will we work with the goggles on and see, and even if I turn to my colleague in a non-technical company, I will turn to him and I will see his phone number and maybe the last time he went out of office and when his next schedule or appointment is, so I know if I have to talk fast or I can take my time because he will leave in 1 hour or in 20 minutes. Do you see that kind of application as well?
If I can answer, I think it depends on the material. If these glasses can bring me all the information, of course I want to work with it 8 hours per day. But here is the HoloLens. It's not really big. I can use it 1 hour, 2 hours, but I don't want to work every day with this in my head. It's really too much. So it's a problem with technology. But for the training or just for improve when I can, if it can help me, yes, it's a really good thing. We have used other demonstrator in work with the projector, and the projector is really good things because we carry nothing and we adjust the point what we need to do. It's not a real problem. It's just some light in more. So it depends on the technology, I think.
So we could see something like Minority Report or other series like that. Is everyone feeling the same way? Is it just a question of technology? I would say we had Google Glass. The Google Glasses were not so heavy to wear and they didn't work. They maybe came too early. That was one of the subject. Fabio?
Yeah, I agree. It's a technology problem, and maybe Google Glass is too early. But also is a question of interface. Technology and also the interfaces. It's difficult to interact with the information. Not only the technology is the first problem. When we will have the technology that allows us, for example, for simple glasses to have information, we need to interact with this information. Indeed, we need the same technology that allow smartphone to be our first tool to interact with people, friends or colleagues. So the interaction is the first point, I think. When will the technology will be available and at the level that allow us to do an experience similar to a reality that does not produce sickness, no? Is a correct from a perceptual point of view. Indeed, Axel has a reason, since HoloLens and also virtual reality headset is not possible to wear more than 1 hour, 2 hours. So for professional purposes, it can be good, but also for professional purposes, it's not so good, since it's not possible to work a day. When the technology will be good enough to remove all the perceptual issues that are in current technologies, there is a lot of perceptual issues related to the vision and the other aspect. What will be important is the interaction, since we need to find a way to interact with the information in a simple way, in a natural way. Natural, not similar to the reality, maybe also in a different way. Indeed, we are not able to tap before the smartphone, since we read a book or move the mouse. So we need a good and ecological, in the sense of Gibson, interaction with the information, I think.
So to be provocative, I should say we are waiting for the Apple glasses. That's what you're saying, in a way. So, or
I don't believe so much.
No, but something like revolutionary, as the iPhone has changed the world of smartphones.
Yeah.
We're waiting for those glasses to come, and maybe they won't be glasses. They would be, I don't know, teeth. Yeah, we'll see that. One of the other technology that is very important in those papers.
I am sorry. Sorry, I have to leave, since I start a class now.
It was nice to have you, Fabio. Thank you very much.
See you next Thursday.
Of course.
It's a pleasure. Bye.
The other technology I wanted to address, and maybe it's going to be the conclusion of this session as well, is AI, because we've talked about VR, AR, and the thing that is now much more and more linked to those technologies is AI. And Stefano, you had it in your presentation. How can it be for the professional and personal training? How can it be the game changer, this AI? Because we have also the same thing about this technology. We were told 20 years ago that it would change the world, and the only thing that the AI could do at that time was play chess. Now they're better at chess than we are, that's for sure. At any game, even Go, we've seen that. But AI is not that popular as well. I think people are not yelling in the streets, Alexa, do me that, and Siri, do me that. And when they do it, most of the time they fail and doesn't work, and it's not really what they want it to do. So AI and humans are not yet ready maybe to communicate, or maybe through music. So what is the experience? Were you satisfied with the level of the technology? Is the technology ready to use?
Yes. I think it is ready to use, but
Long question, short answer.
yes. Okay, so I now, in the past years, I work a lot with gamification. Now my current field of work is AI. So in this paper that I presented, sure, AI has limitations because it can have excellent results in some specific domains. So the current work in AI is that it's very good if the domain is very close. So it's not big. If it is small, we know what we want to do, AI can be very good. Usually when interacting with the humans, this small domain is not enough. So for interaction, actually, you're right. So we are not that ready. So the recognition of voice in consumer devices is not 100% ready. And really the point of my papers, it was that gamification can also compensate the limitation that AI can have. Because if we saw some algorithm, we can say 99% of precision is, of accuracy is huge. But the problem is that 99%, it means that maybe one word each 100 word is wrong. And the final user will not enjoy this problem. So good results in algorithm, it doesn't mean that the user are ready to accept these errors. So gamification, I think, can also compensate these parts, because can cover for a few mistakes that the AI today is still doing. Another point, it was, I think, a question also the past week. The problem is to have a feedback, or maybe a game, an application that is aimed to one user, that is not general for everyone. And in that, there are several algorithms in AI that are pretty good to specialize a feedback for one user. But yeah, there are several constraints. I can talk for hours about that because the problem is that the system has to learn to improve. If the user try Alexa 2 times, is not enough for him, he will stop to use it, it will not improve. So that's a limitation. It's not good out of the box. There is sometimes, and the user should accept this limitation that we have today.
Thank you, Stefano. Someone else on AI? Because the second thing you said is one of the last thing I wanted to address as well, is feedback. As well in your project, Alex, or the one that we have seen after it was Maria Sisto's papers. How did you think, or did you thought about the feedback that was given to the person that is wearing the goggles? Because the aim of the manual being ready is to find the answer in the manual. But if he doesn't find the answer, or what is the answer in the gamified process? What is the feedback your project? I was talking to Axel. I don't know if you
Oh, sorry.
You thought about feedback. How is the user getting some feedback from his experience?
We have not already have a feedback because we don't have analyze what the user do. So the user is just passing the next step and do the next step. one of our next step and goal is to film the scene, and with AR in image processing, we can some mistake and say, hey, you do wrong, or no, it was not that. But it's really an important part, but a big part. For the EA, we use it a lot in image processing because it's really the best way actually we have for processing image. So we use it a lot. For the 6DoF tracker, when we spoke in the paper, it's AR.
Thank you, Axel. Maybe Vincent, we'll go back also to your simulation. How do the people get feedback? Is this in the simulation that if you do something wrong, you get a real feedback from the simulation, or is it after the simulation that you have to do some kind of debriefing and say, okay, what you did here was wrong, or is it in the game or in the simulation?
Now, 2 years after the beginning, we have about 100 people took 1,000 people, sorry, took VR experience for resuscitations. The majority of people found it incredible because they do not VR at home. So for majority, it was the first experience with this. This is the first feedback. The second, it's a very specific approach about the first aid courses. And about feedback, all people said, when you will have haptic feedback, when you do CPR on a mannequin, you will be the king. So this is the next project we are working on to more realize the reality they could find on your life, on her life. So people ask to me,
in the game, if you're like doing the things you need to do, do you have a real feedback in the game saying you're not doing the right thing? Here's how you should do it, or is that something in real life saying that after you play?
They have, for the first experience, people can do only positive some steps. We want already to offer to people that doing a positive experience with this. And the next step will be to climb the difficulties and to help them to do some mistakes and to correct their approach and their skills.
So in the first steps, they cannot fail. There's no like wrong.
No, no, because many people cannot oser try to
they don't have the courage to
yes. So if we have if it's too difficult to them to have some mistakes on the first experience, they want to do a new experience after. So we have beginning with the positive first step, and the next step, when the skills, the basic skills are learned, we can go more with more difficulties.
Okay, thank you very much, Vincent. I will ask you the first question will be my last question. Do you think that simulations that we've seen for professionals, maybe not personal training, but for professional training, if lives are at cost, for example, first aid, we have Vincent with the project here, first aid or something that could cost a lot of money. We've seen Flight Simulator. Can you learn to fly a plane? It's one of the simulations that goes real back. There were flight simulators from nearly the beginning of flying because it costs less than crashing a plane. But do you think those simulations can be really playful And should they be playful to encourage the learners, or should they be more realistic or more simulation to prepare people for real life? Because it's not the same motive to want to win the game, or you want to experience real life in a way that you cannot harm anyone. So these are two different things. So maybe on this last question, do you think it's more one of the way? Maybe it's both. What do you think? It's more playful, or it's more realistic in the professional training that should gamified solution go? I hope I was clear. Who wants to go for that? And it's going to be the last round of you guys answering. Yeah, Axel.
For me, when we speak about deaf, it's clearly no, stop the playful. We don't want to have someone who was deaf and say, no, this was playful. Never. But for the high cost things, I think the gamification is a tool for learn faster and better. So if we need to stop the gamification for the high cost problem in the professional aspect, we need to reduce this. And I think we can have the problem in another way. If we see the flight simulator, maybe we need to put the people, the user, in a hard situation, and he need to save the flight. And like that, he have a game, but he learn how to be better and don't crash and have less damage in the flight.
Thank you. Someone else? Or I'll let the conclusion to Stefano, but if anyone else wants to go for that or something else, it's the last time. So that's it, Stefano. You have the conclusion, and maybe you can tell us what you think about that as a conclusion.
Yes, why not? I liked a lot the intervention of Vincent before, because he said that it can be stressful in real life to deal the first time with something that is hard, that can involve death. So maybe it's not important to have fun, but something that is serious is not funny. If you can engage the final user, and even if it is not so close to reality, but then when reality comes, you can be less stressed and be more efficient. I think it's okay. So the main point here is not that important that we have fun, but the important is that we can engage the user. Can be with fun, we can be with other means, but I think the important is that we have the final user that can enjoy the application, the simulation, and what we do.
Enjoy. That could be the last.
Why not?
That is cool. You have to enjoy it. Maybe it's not fun, but you still enjoy it. That's cool.
Yes. So to conclude, thank you, everyone. Thank you to you to have presented everything as every week, Julian. So you find every time very challenging questions. It's interesting to think about some very meaningful answer as well. So also thank you to all the participants. Just to point out then the next two sessions will be a little bit special because we will deal with demos. So virtual demos. So you will see more papers that are not oriented with the explanation of a technical point of view, but it will be more demonstration of some systems that we will have. And I think for today it's okay. Thank you, everybody, again, and see you the next week for the first demo session. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.